The echoes of the past are always there, and you have to know your past, really, to know who you are and where you want to go.
At the core of the company's work is the artistic.
I think what's made the company successful has been the fact that we never forget that we're artists.
There is an aspect of the company that works in an educational way to raise issues with communities using a drama workshop process.
What we've done is said we want to take this and mix it with social justice and about issues that we care about and about the world we live in. The Memory Project is using drama and theatre to promote peace building and reconciliation and non-violence.
We're working cross-border, cross-community, looking at the experiences of people who've lived through the conflict in Northern Ireland. And as part of that process, we are running storytelling workshops.
What is your interest, your expectations in this work?
These are absolutely fantastic, brilliant exercises designed by geniuses to make people feel, even the shyest person in the world, after half an hour can feel disinhibited. It's a little bit about not being afraid to look stupid or to look silly, not for its own sake, but I think if you get over that barrier psychologically of not being afraid to look silly or stupid, you can then perform.
What do you think you're doing? Give me those. Give me those.
Have you been distributing these?
Open the door.
We're using drama and theatre to bring out hidden stories or bring out stories to do with the legacy of the conflict in Northern Ireland.
It's about the individual, and it's about what this specific person brings to the room and how you can empower this, how you can transform it, because stories will always come out.
Historically, there have been dominant stories that have come to light in terms of the conflict in Northern Ireland. And the Memory Project that we're running explores the stories that haven't been told. And it's kind of like, I suppose it's the ordinary experiences of people who've lived through extraordinary circumstances.
What happened to me affected me, it affected my family, it affected my friends. Some of my friends are dead because of what happened to me. So, today it's good to express it, and it's good to hear other people's stories.
The workshop for me enables a person to go further into going into that private space and bringing out a very private story or an emotional story. And certainly that's where I feel the stories do come out more fully within the workshop process.
It is important to acknowledge that there is a huge amount of pain and suffering, and that if you won't do anything with it, I think it's like poison. If you keep it in the body, if you keep it close, if you keep it in the communities, it just spreads. And it kills. It just kills the whole system.
We've interviewed people. They have said to me, we were always told to keep quiet and not say anything. And we have been never told that it's okay to speak now.
Nobody wants to go back. You know, we are all, I think, because we're here today, we're all peacemakers, and we want, as we say, we want it for our children yet unborn.
We're not telling people you should forget, you should forgive, you should move on.
The phone rang, just as I was about to head out and do my choir practice.
What we're saying is these experiences have happened and these stories are there, and all we're doing is crafting theatre out of these stories and then sharing those stories with the wider audience. We were interested in the idea of living theatre, and living theatre is where your theatre is relevant to the world you live in, okay? And we have gone and interviewed people to do with stories in terms of conflict in Northern Ireland. And then we have taken those stories and crafted them into fictional theatre pieces, but yet everything you see in the pieces has actually happened. So they're true fiction.
And when she hangs up, I look at my face in the mirror in the hallway, and it's like looking at a face I don't recognise.
We're taking the stories and creating theatre pieces that are telling those stories within a structure of a theatre piece that is entertaining and engaging, but also then provocative and also disturbing sometimes, also very moving, very emotional.
And my hand is shaking, and I want to talk to someone, but I can't talk to my husband, and I can't go to the choir practice, and I'm standing there, and it feels like someone has put their hand through my chest and ripped out my heart. Alice loses her first love. So it's an enormous, vast loss that has lived within her life. And you see a woman who has put herself back together again. And when he's gone, she brings me out a cup of tea and she goes, I know you're old enough in this life to make your own decisions, but if you are going to get yourself involved with a Catholic, then you better be prepared for lots of complications. And you might just find at the end of the day that the cons outweigh the pros.
The problem about writing about the North is that these things were so volatile and personal and subjective and fraught. They were also issues that affected a whole community. That I always thought, unless we found the authentic voice of these characters, that they would just come across as being theatrical or dramatic for their own sake. And to a certain extent, theatre can be exploitative as well. And that I felt really almost a reverence and a fear approaching this, that if you didn't get it right, people would rightly say, who are you to come into our community and to unearth this and to throw it upon us? So there was a huge sense of reverence about finding a true fiction, is what I would call it, something that really felt truthful. And the only way to do that was really to talk to real people.
I remember that day, 18 years ago. I'm in the kitchen with my mother, helping her hang up shelves when there's a knock on the front door. I go and answer it. And it's an RUC man. My mother comes to see who it is. I could tell by the man's face that something bad had happened. I thought it might have been my dad because he was away in Magherfelt. And he looks at us and asks us our names and tells us that Sean has been killed.
Often when people come to see the shows and have a discussion afterwards, they can discuss that character and that character's experience as opposed to discussing somebody real.
Yes, you will have people in the audience acknowledging that they have experienced loss or they can relate to something in the performance. For me, I think the post-show discussions enables people to talk about whether this is important or not to tell these stories.
When you combine the legacy of the conflict and the economic downturn, you have a lot of young people who have nothing to lose, and that's the greatest risk to any society. And I think that the work has to continue, and there has to be a diligence in continuing to have these difficult conversations with a broad range of people, and it needs to be ongoing.
I think conflicts in every place are in a way the same. It's the people that are suffering. Eventually the people in the workshops just want a decent life.
This is part of the peace process, and this is a natural progress that both communities are experiencing at the moment, so it kind of ebbs and flows.
We're hopefully going in with questions and with the possibility of reenacting or enacting a different future.
It's very hard to talk about it, Mark, I find. It's much easier to do it.